we've really looked at how do we do a better job, since our managers, whether it's in retail or the roastery, they are our representatives, they are our ambassadors. How do we make sure that we give them the skills to make sure that they're that critical link between Allen and me and everyone else in the company? Because again, we might see everybody in the company 2 to 3 times a year as a group. And so how do we make sure on a daily basis every person who works here knows that we care about you, we want to hear your ideas, and by the way, if you want a career in coffee, we want to know that. We're having to be realistic. This is not everyone's profession. It's not going to be their profession for their lifetime. And so I've never been more excited than recently. A goal we set years ago was, how do we do a better job of training internally so that as we have turnover on a senior level, we've trained the next person to step in. We have a manager who has realized her lifetime goal is to be in law enforcement. We're very supportive of it. We all should be thankful that a young woman like this, she's going to be extraordinary. But all the interviews to replace her were internal. And in fact, I had so many good internal candidates that I could only choose one person, but I have someone else now on a track that the next opening, she's ready to step in. And I have 3 other people who said, I want a career in coffee on a management level. It was unbelievable. And so the fact that people, number one, got in touch and said, I want to interview, that people who didn't get the job said, well, what can we do to make sure that I get the skills that next time I am the one? So we're developing this whole program now for the next tier to make sure, do you have the skills you need to actually step in and be that next manager? We have an opening right now to be a production roaster, and I assumed everybody in the roastery would want the opportunity. I sat down and, first of all, everyone had an idea of what they wanted to do to grow with the company. Much to my amazement, I thought everybody would want the position. Everyone had other interests within the company for other areas that actually ultimately we're going to need people. So we get to train people in areas that we know a year down the road we're going to need someone. And also the most moving to me was I had team members, which I wish I had recorded it, who said, this is what ultimately I'd like to be doing, but you tell me what you need that's in the best interest of the company and the team. And to me, I literally said, we've worked almost 21 years now for me to get that answer. That it's about personal development, but how can I help the company accomplish its goal, and that I want to be a part of it. Good ideas come from a lot of places. I actually last year, on a whim, went to a great conference in New York that a publication was doing that has nothing directly to do with our industry, but has to do with innovative companies. And had the opportunity to hear the CEO of Disney Pixar and the CEO of Donors Choose and the amazing CEO at PepsiCo, industries that really are nothing directly related to me, but think outside the box thinking. I was so inspired and came back and said, if we're not looking at how we do things, and at the end of the day, if we're not having fun with what we're doing, then why are we doing this? I mean, we work really hard on what we're doing, and yes, we need to know our numbers, and we need to have a certain amount of planning that we do, and we need to have good people, but at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying, if we're not having that fun factor, which we had a lot of in the early days, if that's not somehow in your DNA of a business, it's just not worth coming to work every day. And so everything from the coffee cup sculpture that we did, that someone actually said we should check and see, is it the largest weather vane in Maine? And we've learned that we have to have north, south, east, and west somehow imprinted on it, so we might try that and see, are we a weather vane, what are we? Two, I was just pulling out old boxes that when we opened our second location, we did Coffee by Design yo-yos, because only a couple of yo-yos would open a second location in a depressed economy. And we had these yo-yos, and we actually had instructions about how to use a yo-yo if you never had. And it reminded me when we did that, it just so happened there was a group of visitors from India visiting Portland. Who knows why they were in Portland in 1996, 97, but they'd never seen a yo-yo before. And the vision of all of these people out on the street learning to yo-yo with our yo-yo. And I'm like, how do you package that? How do you plan for that? How do you explain what difference does that make to a coffee company? It's like, you know what? It's about fun. It's about when you come to work, how do you create an experience? That yes, there's great coffee, but then there's this great cup of coffee and a whole lot more, and it's community, but it's fun. It's getting away from the day-to-day routine. Being small and being very clear on what your vision is as to who you are and what is non-negotiable, what are your values. You can benefit from the marketing of larger, in our case, coffee companies. They spend a lot of money letting people know that the flavor that is hot right now is pumpkin. I can benefit from that because I now can look at, okay, if I know that pumpkin is now the flavor that's going to be this huge trend, they're putting it in the customer's mind. They want that pumpkin, but then now I can look at how can I take that flavor and make it even better. You know, I know that we have Maine maple syrup. So I can tell people that I know that maple is a big flavor. I know that the quality of what I'm doing is better quality, and by the way, my local economy benefits because I buy from my Maine farmers. So I think it's really looking at, let them spend the marketing money to raise awareness for the consumer, but then having us really look at what can we take away from that and do it better. And it might not necessarily be that we're going to do pumpkin. We may come up with something else, but looking at the consumer is looking for something that's new and different. We know that French vanilla and hazelnut are not our top sellers. Hawaiian hazelnut and vanilla hazelnut and cinnamon hazelnut are really popular with us. So it's looking at what they've done and actually how do we take their marketing dollars and use it in a way that we can now target our customer. Also, we are very nimble. If we see, and a really good example is, and again, lesson learned here internally, we had a signature blend we did for our Diamond Street location. So we had this wonderful Diamond Street blend. Our goal was every season it changes, so that there are these nuances of changing it. We changed the first time, and within a day I was getting customer emails, phone calls, people were stopping in. What have you done with Diamond Street Blend? I heard the feedback. I talked to our roastery. As much as we had this idea of what we thought would be a great change seasonally, our customer was telling us no. We had launched the new one on Monday. By Friday, we had the original one back in place. So again, it's listening to the customer, still staying true to this great coffee we had and this idea we had, but saying, you know what, customers, they didn't like it. It's not that they didn't like the new coffee, but it wasn't, rename it something else. It's not my Diamond Street blend. But the fact that within the course of the week we could get the feedback, react, roast the new one, repackage, get it out to the consumer. Again, that's the opportunity being small that you have. There is no corporate headquarters here that has to go through layers to get an answer. Again, look to the big guys. They're creating categories. There's a reason that we all want to open businesses in this specialty coffee industry. But how can we look at what they've created and how can we take it and do it in a way that has meaning, is sustainable, that we can individually be passionate about, and that for us, that we feel our whole community will benefit from.